Have you ever found yourself agreeing to something you despise? Or defending a person whose actions you privately condemn? You believe the choice was yours, but was it? Or were you merely a pawn in a game you never knew was being played? The greatest cages are not made of iron, they are forged in the mind. Machiavelli knew this. He understood that true control is not won with armies, but with whispers. It is the art of shaping another's reality so completely that your will becomes their desire. There are unwritten rules to this dark art, forbidden laws of psychological control so potent, they are rarely spoken aloud. Today we speak them, not so you may become a tyrant, but so you may never again be a slave to one. We begin with the most elegant and insidious of all manipulations. A strategy so perfectly disguised as virtue that you will thank your captor as they lock the door to your cage. This is the first forbidden law, the law of the generous trap. Consider the gift. It arrives when you are most in need, a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. It could be an opportunity when all doors were closed, alone when your pockets were empty, or praise when your spirit was broken. It feels like grace, like unearned kindness, but you must look closer. You must see the shadow it casts. Machiavelli understood that nothing is more dangerous than a favor you did not ask for. It is a poison served in a golden cup, a debt signed in invisible ink. The generous trap is the most perfect form of control because its bars are forged from your own sense of honor. Understand the psychological architecture of this prison. Humans are wired for reciprocity. It is the bedrock of social cohesion, the instinct to give back when we have received. But the master manipulator does not see this as a virtue. They see it as a design flaw in the human machine, a lever to be pulled. They are not giving to you. They are investing in you. They are purchasing a piece of your future compliance. Every grand gesture, every thoughtful word, every timely rescue is a deposit into an invisible account of obligation. And they are patient. They will wait. They allow the weight of their generosity to settle upon you. You begin to feel its mass in your quiet moments. You feel a growing, unspoken pressure to be worthy of their kindness. You start to police your own thoughts, edit your own words, soften your own boundaries, all to prove you are grateful. You become your own jailer, diligently maintaining the cage they so generously built for you. You do not realize that your gratitude has been weaponized against you. It has been turned from a warm feeling into a cold silk rope around your neck. And then, the day will come. The moment the investment is called due, the manipulator will approach you, not with a demand, but with a request cloaked in reasonableness. It will be for something that violates your principles, compromises your integrity, or serves their ambition at your expense. And as you hesitate, you will feel the full weight of their past kindness pressing down on you. The memory of their help will rise up like a ghost to accuse you. This is the moment of truth. If you comply, you cement your role as their asset. Your will is no longer your own. It belongs to the debt you have been conditioned to feel. But if you refuse, if you dare to choose your own sovereignty over their request, then you will witness the true artistry of this law. Instantly, their mask of benevolence will vanish. You will be accused, not of disagreeing, but of being ungrateful, selfish, a traitor. They will reframe your self-preservation as an act of profound cruelty. They will point to their past generosity, not as the bait it was, but as proof of your villainy. After all I have done for you, they will say, This is how you repay me? They will make you the antagonist in a story where you were always the target. They do not just want your compliance. They want you to feel guilty for ever considering refusal. Machiavelli taught that obligations born of gratitude are unreliable because men are inherently fickle. But the manipulator refines this. They create an obligation so immense, so public, that to defy it would be to defy social decency itself. The antidote is not to become a cynic who rejects all kindness. It is to become a strategist who can discern the difference between a gift and a transaction. A true gift asks for nothing in return. A generous trap has the terms and conditions written in invisible ink. You must learn to accept help without surrendering your autonomy. You must learn to say thank you without also saying, I am now yours to command. Look at the patterns. Does their help always make you more dependent on them? Does their kindness always come with unspoken expectations? Do they keep a subtle but clear record of their good deeds? You must see their generosity not as charity, but as a calculated move on a chessboard. Appreciate the move, but do not fall for the trick. Because once you understand the law of the generous trap, you are no longer a potential victim. You are a player who knows the rules of the game. And that knowledge is the one gift that truly sets you free. We now move from the tangible world of gifts and debts into the shadow realm of perception itself. A physical assault is crude, a declaration of war, but to conquer a person's mind from within, to make them an agent of their own destruction, that is the work of a master. Mark this well, for this is the second forbidden law, the law of the borrowed voice. The strategist who employs this law understands a critical truth. A man's mind is a fortress. A direct attack, a personal insult, often strengthens the walls and rallies the defenses so they do not lay siege. Instead, they poison the wells. They do not attack you. They attack the idea of you in the minds of others. The attack is never a declaration. It is a whisper. It begins in the quiet corners of conversation, disguised as concern. To your closest friend, the manipulator might say, I love him, but I'm worried about his recent choices. Have you noticed? To your colleague, they might confide, she is brilliant, of course, but her ambition is making her difficult, don't you think? The poison is always mixed with sugar. The criticism is wrapped in a layer of feigned loyalty, making it all the more believable, all the more potent. They are not seen as an attacker, but as a reluctant, concerned truth-teller. And so, the virus of thought begins to spread. It infects the ecosystem of your life, passed from one person to another in hushed tones. They are not merely gossiping. They are being recruited. They are becoming unwitting soldiers in a war you do not even know is being waged against you. Then comes the most devastating phase of the attack, the echo chamber. You start to hear the manipulator's exact words, their precise criticisms. But they are spoken by the people you trust the most. Your partner asks, "Are you sure that's a wise choice?" using the same strange phrasing the manipulator used. Your best friend says, "I'm just worried you're becoming a bit arrogant." And the word arrogant rings in your ears like a funeral bell dot. This is the moment the trap springs. Your mind is thrown into chaos. It cannot be a conspiracy. You think, these people love me. They would not coordinate an attack. The only logical conclusion your mind can draw is that they must be right. If everyone is seeing the same flaw, the flaw must be within you. And here, the final conquest occurs. The external whispers become your own internal voice. You begin to doubt your own judgment, question your own sanity. You lie awake at night, replaying their words, searching for evidence of your own supposed arrogance, your own foolishness. You have started to police yourself on their behalf. The manipulator no longer needs to whisper to your friends, because you are now whispering their poison to yourself. They have successfully colonized your mind. Machiavelli taught that a prince must be more concerned with his reputation than his true character, for men are governed by what they see, not what is real. This law is the weaponization of that principle. How can you fight an enemy who uses the voices of your friends as their army? How can you trust your own judgment when the world you trust reflects only your flaws? The antidote to this is not to become paranoid, but to become sovereign in your own perception. It requires radical self-trust. When you hear these echoes, you must not ask, "Is this true?" You must ask a more strategic question. Cui bono? Who benefits from me believing this about myself? You must trace the whisper back to its source. See this strategy for what it is, an attempt to replace your reality with their own. They know that if they can make you doubt yourself, they can control your actions without ever laying a hand on you. To defeat them, you must trust your own voice above all others. You must hold on to your own truth, even when you are the only one in the room who believes it. For once you can distinguish their borrowed voice from your own, you become immune to their most insidious form of control. You reclaim the throne of your own mind. We have explored the traps of obligation and the war of perception. Now we must go deeper into the silent secret chamber of the heart itself. For the most profound control is not gained by manipulating what you do or what you think, but by manipulating what you fear you are. This is the third forbidden law, the law of the sacred wound. Let us speak of the unspeakable. Deep within every person, there's a fault line, a hairline crack in the soul's armor. It is a secret fear of being unworthy, of being a fraud, of being fundamentally unloved. It is the one judgment you fear above all others. This is your sacred wound, and the master manipulator is not a warrior who attacks your strengths. They are a surgeon who operates on your deepest weakness. They begin as diagnosticians of pain. They watch you. They listen not to your words, but to your silences. They note the compliments you dismiss too quickly, the criticisms that linger too long in your eyes, the subjects you refuse to discuss. They are searching for the key to the basement of your psyche, the place where your oldest insecurities are stored. And once they find it, they possess the most powerful lever imaginable. They employ this lever in two ways. The first is through subtle, constant pressure. They will never mention the wound directly. That would be too crude. Instead, they will press on the edges of it. If you fear you are unintelligent, they will constantly praise the intellect of others in your presence. If you fear you are uninteresting, they will recount fascinating stories of other people's lives. It is a campaign of 1,000 tiny paper cuts, each one designed to keep the wound silently bleeding, to keep you in a state of quiet desperation, forever trying to prove you are not the thing you secretly believe yourself to be. But the second method is far more potent, far more insidious. They will not press on the wound. They will present themselves as its only healer. They become your savior. They will look you in the eyes and tell you the one thing you are desperate to hear. They will tell the man who fears he is a failure that he is a genius. They will tell the woman who fears she is unlovable that she is adored beyond measure. This validation is not a gift. It is the most addictive drug ever created. and they become your sole supplier. Their approval is the anesthetic that keeps the pain of your sacred wound at bay. And you will do anything to keep it. This is the unspoken bargain you now make. You will surrender your opinions, your ambitions, even your friends, all for the comfort of their validation. They do not need to threaten you anymore. Your own fear of that old pain returning is the only leash they need. They do not heal the wound. They manage it for their own benefit. Machiavelli would recognize this as the ultimate form of power. For what is more binding than fear? Not the fear of a sword, but the fear of your own inner darkness. The fear of being exposed, of being seen, as the flawed creature you believe yourself to be. The antidote to this law is not to build thicker armor, or to pretend you have no wounds. That is a fool's errand. The only true defense is to do the terrifying work of healing the wound yourself. You must face your insecurity. You must make peace with your perceived flaws. You must learn to soothe your own pain, to validate your own worth. When you no longer need someone else to tell you that you are intelligent, or worthy, or loved, you rob the manipulator of their greatest weapon. When you can look at your own sacred wound without flinching, you take back the key to your own mind. Their praise becomes pleasant, but unnecessary. Their subtle pressure becomes transparent and pathetic. They can no longer offer you a cure for a disease you no longer suffer from. And a savior is powerless in the presence of someone who has already saved themselves. We have traversed the landscapes of obligation, perception, and personal fear. Now we enter the public square, where the manipulator ceases to be a mere individual and becomes a cause, a movement, a righteous crusade. Here, they forge their most powerful weapon, your own virtue. This is the fourth forbidden law, the law of the noble cause. Let us dissect this grand deception. The most dangerous tyrant is not the one who declares his desire for power, but the one who claims to have no desire for it at all. He is a wolf draped in the banner of a saint. This manipulator never reveals their true selfish ambition for a promotion, for more resources for the downfall of a rival. Instead, they identify a real or perceived injustice and appoint themselves its reluctant champion. They do not say, "I want." They say, "We must fight for fairness." They do not say, "Help me." They say, "Join us in the pursuit of what is right." They speak of principles, of integrity, of the collective good. They are no longer a person seeking personal gain. They are the embodiment of a virtuous struggle. It is never about them. It is always about us. And in doing so, they construct a moral battlefield and force you onto it. Here lies the diabolical elegance of the trap. You are presented with an impossible choice. On one side, there is their noble cause. To join it is to feel righteous, to be part of something larger than yourself, to be on the right side of history. You lend your energy, your voice, and your reputation to their crusade, all while feeling a sense of moral clarity. You become a willing soldier in their private war, convinced you are fighting for justice when you are merely building their throne. What if you see through the performance? What if you sense the ambition lurking beneath the righteous rhetoric? If you dare to refuse, if you dare to question their motives, you are not merely disagreeing with a person. You are positioned as an enemy of the cause itself. You become an obstacle to fairness, a sympathizer with injustice. Your refusal to join their mob is framed as a moral failing. Your wisdom is relabeled as cynicism. Your independence is recast as selfishness. This is the essence of moral blackmail. The manipulator no longer needs to attack you directly. They have engineered a situation where the group will do it for them. Your colleagues, your friends, even your family will look at you with suspicion. Why are you not supporting this noble effort? Why are you standing in the way of progress? You are isolated, not for any crime you have committed, but for the unforgivable sin of seeing the truth. Machiavelli taught that a prince must always appear to be virtuous, for men are easily deceived by appearances. The manipulator who masters this law does not just appear virtuous. They become synonymous with virtue itself. To oppose them is to oppose goodness. The only antidote is to cultivate a ruthless moral clarity. You must learn to separate the cause from the champion. You must ask the questions that nobody else dares to ask. Who truly benefits if this crusade succeeds? Do this person's private actions align with their public proclamations? Is their outrage selective, only appearing when it serves their interests? You must learn to judge the warrior, not just the banner they carry so proudly. This requires immense courage. It often means standing alone against a tide of manufactured righteousness. The group will call you a cynic for questioning their hero, a traitor for refusing to join their war. But you must hold your ground, understanding that true morality is not found in mob consensus, but in individual discernment. For the manipulator's noble cause is a kingdom built for one, disguised as a paradise for all. They use the language of saints to achieve the goals of a tyrant. And once you see this, once you can distinguish the performance of virtue from the practice of it, you rob them of their most powerful weapon. You can no longer be blackmailed by your own goodness. You become free to choose your own battles, guided not by their self-serving crusade, but by your own sovereign conscience. We arrive at the final law, the most disorienting weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. It is a strategy designed not to build a cage around you, but to destroy the very ground on which you stand. It is the art of breaking a person's balance, of making them a desperate addict for a stability that only their tormentor can provide. This is the fifth and final forbidden law, the law of fractured certainty. A mind without certainty is a ship without a rudder, lost in a storm of its own making. The manipulator who masters this law becomes both the storm and the only harbor in sight. The objective is to destroy your equilibrium, to shatter your confidence in your own perceptions, so that you cling to them as your only source of truth. This is not random moodiness. It is a meticulously crafted chaos. The process is a brutal and unpredictable dance. First comes the sun. They shower you with intense affection, admiration, and understanding. They praise your intellect, your talent, your very soul. They put you on a pedestal, making you feel seen and valued like never before. They create a dizzying high, a golden age where their approval is the air you breathe. You feel secure, certain of your place in their world. This is the bait. Then, without warning, without explanation, comes the void. The sun vanishes and you are plunged into an inexplicable winter. The praise is replaced by silence. The warmth becomes a cutting indifference. The intimate conversations turn to short, formal replies. There is no fight, no clear transgression you can point to. There is only the unnerving, deafening silence of their withdrawal, and in that void, your mind begins to tear itself apart. What did I do wrong? You ask, how did I ruin this? You replay every recent interaction, dissect every word, searching desperately for the mistake that caused this shift. You are no longer living your life. You are obsessively auditing it, trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. You begin to believe the fault must lie within you. This emotional roller coaster is the engine of addiction. Psychologists know that intermittent reinforcement, rewarding a behavior, randomly and unpredictably, is the most powerful way to create a compulsive habit. The manipulator uses this to make you addicted to their approval. You live for the moments of sunshine, and you work frantically during the winters to bring it back. Their validation is no longer a pleasant addition to your life. It is the drug you need to feel stable, to feel sane. Machiavelli wrote of Fortuna, the unpredictable nature of fate that a great leader must tame. The manipulator creates an artificial fortuna just for you. They become the god of your small universe, controlling the weather of your emotional reality. They are the source of both your anxiety and your relief from it. How can you stand firm on ground that is constantly shifting beneath your feet? You cannot. Instead, you reach for the only thing that seems stable, the hand of the very person causing the earthquake. The antidote to this law is the most difficult of all, for it requires you to build a new foundation within yourself while the storm rages. You must become your own emotional anchor. You must find the North Star of your own soul, a sense of self-worth that does not rise and fall with the tide of their moods. You must learn to observe their behavior not as a reflection of your worth, but as a calculated strategy. When they are warm, see it as a tactic. When they are cold, see it as a tactic. Do not ask, "What did I do?" Instead, ask, "What do they want me to do?" By detaching your emotions from their actions, you rob the roller coaster of its power. You see it for the cheap amusement park ride. This is the ultimate act of self-sovereignty, to find your stability within when all outside is chaos. When you can provide your own warmth, their sun no longer feels like salvation. When you can sit calmly in your own certainty, their void no longer feels like annihilation. You have broken the cycle of addiction. You have reclaimed your balance. And a person who cannot be thrown off balance cannot be controlled. Of course. Here is the full 700-word voiceover script for the conclusion. This script is designed to be the powerful, liberating finale to the entire video, written in the specific style you require. And so, we have walked through the 5 circles of psychological control. We have witnessed the generous trap that disguises a chain as a gift, the borrowed voice that colonizes your thoughts, the sacred wound that turns your deepest fear into a leash, the noble cause that wears the mask of virtue to serve ambition, and the fractured certainty that makes you a beggar for stability in a storm of their own making. You have seen the architecture of deceit, but you must understand the final, most crucial truth. These laws are not forces of nature. They are not unbeatable demons. They are merely strategies. They are illusions crafted in the dark, and their power depends entirely on your inability to see them. What power does a ghost have once you turn on the light? What power does a magic trick have once the magician reveals his methods? The moment you see the strategy, the moment you can name the game being played, its power over you evaporates. The antidote to psychological control is not a counterattack. You do not need to become a manipulator to defeat one. That is a fool's game that forces you to become the monster you seek to destroy. The true antidote, the one that grants permanent immunity, is clarity. It is the cold, unwavering light of awareness. It is the awareness that you do not have to accept the gift. You can see the generous trap not as kindness, but as a transaction. And you are free to decline the terms. You are not ungrateful. You are discerning. It is the awareness that you do not have to listen to the whisper. You can hear the borrowed voice not as truth, but as a ventriloquist's act, and you can choose to listen to your own conscience instead. You are not stubborn. You are sovereign. It is the awareness that you do not have to fear the wound. You can face your own insecurities, your own perceived flaws, with courage. And when they try to press on that sacred wound, their touch is no longer agonizing. It is merely pathetic. You are not broken. You are whole. It is the awareness that you do not have to join the cause. You can dissect their noble cause and see the selfish ambition within. You can refuse to be a soldier in their private war. You are not a cynic. You are a realist. And it is the awareness that you do not have to ride the roller coaster. You can stand on solid ground and observe their chaotic shifts between warmth and coldness, seeing it for the desperate tactic it is. You are not unfeeling. You are anchored. This is the great transformation. You cease to be the fly, struggling in a web you do not understand. You become the observer. You ascend to a higher vantage point, and from there, you see the web for what it is, a crude, desperate construction. You see the manipulator not as a powerful demigod, but as a creature of immense insecurity, utterly dependent on your compliance and confusion. The observer is no longer a participant in the game, and the observer cannot be trapped. Machiavelli wrote for princes who wish to rule states. But the ultimate kingdom you must govern is the one within your own mind. These laws were presented not as a playbook for you to use on others, but as a map of the enemy's territory, so you may navigate it without being captured. The goal is not to control anyone else. It is to achieve a state where no one can ever again control you. This is the essence of true power. Not the ability to pull the strings, but the clarity to see them and the freedom to refuse to dance. It is a quiet internal sovereignty that needs no crown, no throne, no applause. It is the peace that comes from knowing you cannot be played. So, I ask you now, as you stand here with the blueprint to their prison in your hands, which of these laws has had the most profound impact on your own life? What chains will you now break? Share your revelation in the comments below, for your testimony may be the key that unlocks someone else's cage. If you are ready to claim the throne of your own mind, subscribe. For this is not the end of your training. It is merely the beginning. These 5 laws are used in the world every single day. Look around you. Which of these forbidden laws have you witnessed firsthand? Let us know in the comments below. If you are ready to continue your training in the art of power to defend yourself and claim your sovereignty, subscribe and join the inner circle.